Hello, everyone, and welcome to Slash Film Daily for August 31st, 2018. On today's episode, we're going to dive into the latest film and TV news. This is Slash Film senior writer Ben Pearson, and joining me on today's episode are Slash Film writers Hoai-Tran
Hey everyone.
and Chris Evangelista.
Hello.
All right, guys, let's jump into the news. First up, A Star is Born, Bradley Cooper's directorial debut, has hit the film festival circuit, and reviews are in. HT, what are people saying about this movie?
So this film just made its debut at the Venice International Film Festival, and it's getting rave reviews. This is the third remake of A Star is Born, the most recent being the 1970s version starring Chris Christopherson and Barbra Streisand, but you may know as well the Judy Garland version. So this is directed by Bradley Cooper and starring Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga in the lead roles. And A Star is Born, if you may remember a few weeks ago, had a sort of premature review accidentally hit the web, and it was glowing and gushing, and people wondered whether this remake could actually live up to these high expectations, and it does. Robbie Collin from The Telegraph marvels that Bradley Cooper, making his directorial debut with this movie, directed a masterpiece on his first try. That's a quote from him, from his tweet, actually. And he says in his review, but though it hews to a familiar, arguably predictable shape, it does so from an exhilarating ringside perspective. Scenes thump with truth from the stadium set pieces, which were shot at a number of real-life gigs, including last year's Glastonbury Festival, and have the live wire fizz of Scorsese's concert films with intimate sequences back and off stage. Other such reviews are as I don't want to say hyperbolic, as gushing, and they also praise Lady Gaga in particular. This is her first leading role in a feature film, and they say that she's quite a natural at this role. And it also helps that the film apparently has a rich fictional hypertext, according to the film stage's Leonardo Goy, who says that the film sort of builds around her character's rising star, and she more than shoulders the burden of that role. So it's getting pretty good reviews. Some people balk a little bit about the film being a remake and treading really familiar ground, but otherwise it works really well because of Cooper's directorial style and also Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper's strong performances.
Well, that's very encouraging. I mean, I have not seen Lady Gaga's work on American Horror Story. I know she showed up on at least one season of that show, but I've seen her pop up in movies like Sin City, A Dame to Kill For, and like Machete Kills. But this sounds like it's an entirely different level for her in terms of performance, which is great to hear. And HT, are you looking forward to this? I mean, even aside from these reviews, does this movie look like something that you're interested in seeing?
I've been looking forward to this since the trailer hit. I think I was the only one on this team who was really excited by that trailer. I think it was a phenomenal trailer that really built on that big musical note that Lady Gaga hits towards the end, and it sent chills down my spine every time I watch it. I am a closet Lady Gaga fan. Used to be a huge fan of hers when I was in high school, so I'm really excited to see her on screen and see how she does as an actress. And I think I haven't seen any of the other Stars Born films. I need to remedy that by the time this movie comes out. But I'm excited to see this movie, whether it's an old tale or not.
Cool. Chris, what about you? Are you looking forward to this one?
I am actually. I'm going to see it at TIFF next week, so I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe you can bring us a report back and let us know what you think. Let's move to our next item, and that is Woody Allen's next movie has been shelved by Amazon. Chris, what's going on with this one?
So I feel like everyone knows Scandal has followed Woody Allen around for a very long time in his career when he was accused of sexually assaulting his adopted daughter. And even though that's been news for a very long time, he's continued to, just make movies constantly. But, as everyone knows, things have changed in the last year with the Me Too and the Time's Up movements. And as a result of that, it seems like the news is finally maybe catching up with Woody Allen. Just the other day, it was announced that he was taking time off from directing for the first time since 1981. And then right after that, word came that Amazon was shelving his next movie called A Rainy Day in New York. A few years back, Amazon signed a big deal with Woody Allen to distribute a bunch of stuff. They distributed a TV series he made called A Crisis in Six Scenes, and they also distributed the movie Wonder Wheel, and neither of those were met with very glowing reviews. And while Amazon didn't give a specific reason as to why they're shelving the film, I think everyone can pretty much read between the lines and realize this has a lot to do with those accusations that have been following him around for most of his career by now.
Yeah, I know, like a lot of the actors involved have since come out and basically like spoke out against Woody Allen, and a couple of the actors have even like donated their salaries to organizations that work with victims of sexual assault and misconduct and stuff like that too, right?
Yes, that's correct. Rebecca Hall, Timothy, how do you say it? Chalamet, is that correct?
Yeah, Chalamet. Yep.
Chalamet and Griffin Newman, who are all in the film, all donated their salaries to the film to organizations like that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the Amazon deal that Woody Allen signed involves 3 more movies beyond A Rainy Day in New York. So I read in one of the reports that we had on the site that like Amazon might end up trying to get out of that deal, and it would basically, the way for them to do that would be to like give Woody Allen a huge payout to sort of break the contract there. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, or if Amazon is actually, intending on doing that, or if they're just going to sort of lay low for a while and see what happens here. But yeah, this seems like sort of a nightmare scenario in our current societal context to try to promote a Woody Allen movie, especially one where the stars are not even interested in the movie itself, and like actively distancing themselves from their own director, writer-director. So yeah, that's seems to be quite a stumbling block for Woody Allen's next. We'll have to see what Amazon does with that, if they maybe like quietly put it up on Amazon Prime Video or something like that. I'm not sure, but we'll keep you guys posted. One other news story that is on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, going from Woody Allen movies to potential superhero movies. Chris, tell us about what Wesley Snipes has been saying about Blade 4.
Yeah, so I feel like everyone in the world, and I'm just going to assume this is true, everyone in the world wants Wesley Snipes to come back and play Blade again for Blade 4 or some sort of Blade related entertainment. And Wesley Snipes sounds like he wants to do it too. And he gave a very vague interview with Vice where he said there's a lot of conversations going around right now. And he said, quote, "We've created 2 projects that fit perfectly into this world. And when people see them, I think they're only going to have a problem with deciding which one they love the most," end quote. So he doesn't give any he doesn't say what these are, and they could literally be anything. So I feel free to speculate wildly as I do in the story on slashfilm.com. But I don't know. I mean, the fact that he doesn't come right out and say they're movies makes me think these aren't movies and it's going to be something maybe on Netflix. I don't know. But, it could be it could be anything really. And maybe he's not saying specifically what they are because the deal isn't done yet and he doesn't want to, screw it up. But, if you're hoping for more Blade with Wesley Snipes, it looks like there's a very good chance it might be happening, but we don't have any actual specifics other than this quote.
I love that quote too, because it's like the perfect hype man quote where it's like it says something and enough to get people psyched even though they don't even know what they're getting excited for. I think for me, my mind immediately goes to Disney's streaming service, which, do you guys remember the name of that? We just talked about it on a recent episode of the show.
Disney Play.
Disney Play, that's right. Okay.
They really missed out on not making it Disney Vault.
They really did. Yeah, I can't. That's why I couldn't even remember it. Disney Play. That's such a boring name. But anyway, I imagine that Marvel is going to have some live action content for that streaming service, and maybe if this is not a movie, or maybe it could be like a direct to that streaming service movie, or it could be a TV series or something like that. I feel like that would be a more likely home for it than Netflix at this point, just because of the Disney Marvel connection. Do you guys so I haven't seen Blade in a long time, but I know it's like very beloved in the comic book movie community, like fan base, because it was sort of the first out of the gate, really. I mean, not the first exactly, because you've got like Richard Donner's Superman and Tim Burton's Batman, but for a long time there was this fallow period where there weren't really many superhero movies, and then Blade came around in 1998 or something like that, and really sort of formed a launch pad for like X-Men and Spider-Man to jump off of, and that really like kick-started the whole comic book movie movement as we know it today. What do you guys think about Blade, like looking back on that film, and are you interested in seeing more of Wesley Snipes in that role in a movie or a TV show? What do you think is the best form for that character? Chris, let's start with you.
I mean, I would love a movie. I love Blade. I even like the third one, which everyone, including Wesley Snipes, hates. I like that one. And anyway, and I would love to see a movie. But I don't know, the thing that gives me pause, and I mean no disrespect to Mr. Wesley Snipes, but he's not as young as he was when he made Blade. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's still in great shape, but I don't know how that would look. So I don't know. A part of me thinks this is going to be like an R-rated cartoon with him voicing Blade, because that would be like the easiest way to bring him back without making a movie. But I don't know. I would prefer a live-action movie, but I don't know if that'll happen.
HT, do you have any relationship with the Blade franchise, and what do you think about this?
I saw the first Blade a long time ago, but I don't remember much of it. Wasn't there a recent relaunch in the comics of Blade's daughter? Which I think would be an interesting sort of new sort of spin-off movie or series if they decide to go back to that property. Because, yeah, like Chris said, Wesley Snipes is a little bit older now. It would be cool to see him sort of handing off the Blade title, Blade, to his daughter and have her be the new lead. So I don't know. That could be a possibility as well.
Yeah, that would be cool. When I interviewed John Boyega for Pacific Rim Uprising earlier this year, there was this fan art going around of him as Blade, and I asked him about that, and he hadn't seen it before, and I showed him the picture, and I basically was like, what do you think about this? And he said, when I think about Blade, I think, whoa, Wesley Snipes is coming back? We would all love to see Wesley come back one more time before we move on to anybody else. So, Chris, your statement, at least in the beginning, appears to be true of John Boyega. He at least wants to see Wesley Snipes come back as well. So with that, we're going to bring on Jacob Hall, the managing editor of Slash Film, to talk about our last news story of the day. Jacob, welcome.
Hey, Ben, how's it going?
I am doing great. So tell us about our last news story, which is Star Wars Land has announced that they're going to have a cantina, and there's a bit of an uproar about the idea of this bringing alcohol to Disneyland for the first time. What's going on here?
Well, as we all knew, there will be a cantina coming to Star Wars Land, or as it's properly known, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. But what's interesting here is that this will be the first time alcohol will be publicly for sale at Disneyland. If you're a Disney World goer like me, who grew up going to the Florida park, maybe this may have you going a little bit like, oh, okay, how is this special? Because the Florida parks, of which there are 4 in one piece of land, have had alcohol for a long time. And the Magic Kingdom, the Disneyland equivalent park over in Florida, has had alcohol since 2012. But Disneyland, the original core park, built in 1955, has never had alcohol outside of Club 33, which is the extremely exclusive private club on the premises that nobody gets into unless you're extremely wealthy and privileged. So this is a first for Walt's original park, even though the park next door, California Adventure, has had alcohol for a while. So let's talk a little bit, before we get to the controversy, I guess, I want to talk a little about the cantina itself, which, according to the Disney Parks blog, is going to be called Obese Cantina, and I'll read a little bit from their description. Visitors come to this notorious local watering hole to unwind, conduct shady business, maybe even encounter a friend or a foe. Run by an intriguing alien proprietor, Olga Guerra, the cantina adheres to a strict code of conduct that tries to keep its unruly patrons in check. Both the history of being a smuggler's safe haven and a popular shopping point for those seeking to avoid the authorities, you can bet the cantina has a story or two to tell. So this aligns with what we've heard about Galaxy's Edge, which is heavily themed, all employees in character, so you'll be at the bar being served by people in alien costumes, acting like they're actually in an alien world. So it's be extremely immersive, and you'll be drinking drinks that'll probably have alien names, and won't say like, Tequila Sunrise. They'll say, I don't know, Tatooine Gargle Blaster, and but they will have alcohol, and naturally this has caused some I don't know. Whenever people talk about Disneyland in particular, there is this sense of history there. It's a park it's the first major theme park, the one that all others are measured against. It is still very much structured like how it was back in the 50s. Some rides from the 50s are still around. It has a more devoted, passionate following than maybe any other theme park in the world. Even Disney World doesn't have like the fervent, dedicated nothing must change fan base as much as Disneyland does. And Walt Disney himself, excuse me for calling him by his first name, he's a bit of a monster, as much as I admire the man. He has a quote where he said that alcohol should not be served in Disneyland from 60 years ago, which people have been pouncing on this week. So, as someone who has been drinking at Disney World and getting drunk at Epcot for a decade now, I'm curious what you guys think. Is this a big deal to you guys? I mean, I know, Ben, you've been to Disneyland more than I have. I'm a Disney World guy. So, does alcohol at Star Wars Land really taint what makes Disneyland the happiest place on Earth?
I don't think so at all. And I feel like it will sort of I don't know. I'm always in favor of giving people the option, right? Like that's almost across the board on nearly any issue. I feel like just give people the choice. Like I always prefer it as a consumer to have the choice of, yeah, I'm going to try that, or no, it's not for me, but I'm not going to like freak out about something. So I understand what you're saying. And yes, Disneyland has its fair share of like hardcore traditionalists, and I don't blame them, but this seems like a slightly overblown reaction to something, especially considering there has been alcohol sort of peppered throughout other Disney properties for so long. I guess this is like seen as like the last barrier of purity or something for Disneyland. I don't know. It's just such a strange thing for people to get up in arms about. But I don't know. I want to turn it to you guys, like HT and Chris, or actually Chris specifically, because you don't particularly strike me as a theme park guy, and we may have talked about this on a previous episode of the podcast. But would you be interested in attending a park like this? Because I feel like if you were, this cantina would be where you spent a decent amount of your time.
I gotta say, hearing Jacob describe what this is exhausting. I can't imagine wanting to do this. I don't know. I know I'm the miserable person, but the thought of like all this theme stuff, and you gotta like, it's like playing this. It's like being trapped in David Fincher's The Game. That's what this sounds like to me. And I don't know. That movie is a nightmare. The movie's all about how if you're trapped in a big immersive game, it's terrifying, and that's what I think of when I hear this park described as like, you gotta play along with I would just be like, just leave me alone. I just want to have a drink. I don't want to do any of this stuff. Just leave me be. But that's me.
I mean, I don't want to leave you out on an island, Chris. I feel like my own preferences align a lot with yours when it comes to that stuff. I cannot imagine going to this and actually getting excited about the idea of like people in costumes coming up and bothering me. Like the worst part about theme parks to me is all of the people. So the idea that this is going to be something where it's cool on paper, but I'm very curious to see how this translates, especially in its first 2 or 3 years, when seemingly every day is probably going to be packed because everybody and their mother wants to come visit this world and get immersed in Star Wars lore and see Disney go all out to sort of bring people into this crazy universe. HT, what do you think about this? Are you a little bit more open to the idea of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge?
The immersive part actually scares me a little too, but I'm also not the target demographic. I like Star Wars, but I don't want to be in it. On the other hand, if I were in a Disney movie, a Disney princess movie, I might be more open to the idea. Like I think Jacob was talking about the Be Your Guest area where you can, be involved in the Beauty and the Beast sort of dining area and drink there. My only concern really is the prospect of dehydration, because at Disneyland, Disney World, you're walking around so much in the sun, it's hot, there's barely any place to drink water. If you're going to drink alcohol, you'll just like pass out and die. So I don't know. And although drinks will probably be really expensive too. I remember buying a butterbeer at Harry Potter Land, which had no alcohol, and it was way overpriced, and I was like, yeah, it's fine. But I could probably bring my own drinks if I could, rather than spend so much on those drinks, no matter how fancy they are.
You don't want to say that on the air. Disney people will come track you down. But Jacob, I imagine that you are the type of person who does want to be immersed in this, right? Like, are you already planning your first trip to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge?
Yeah, I want to inject some positivity back into this grim, dark darker room and say, this sounds amazing. I'm the kind of person who, Peter and I are the theme park guys. It's a shame Peter couldn't be on the podcast today because he's a Disneyland guy. But, growing up and going to Disney World every 3 or 4 years with my family, it was a ritual. And over the past 20 years, we've watched as parks have gone from being theme parks to being these immersive experiences. I mean, Harry Potter really raised the bar over at Universal. And Disney is firing back with Star Wars, saying, if you got that much, we're going to do this much. And that to me is really thrilling. But I'm also the kind of person who, I play RPGs. I play video games. I like to experience worlds and like fictional adventures. I like to have those unreal experiences where I can make choices and interact with things that aren't real and have this sort of improvisation. I know earlier this year I went at South by Southwest. We had a podcast where I talked about the Westworld experience they had built there, where it was a giant western town full of actors playing robots, playing cowboys, and to let you simulate being in Westworld. And being in an area where there were actors who were in character, who were serving you drinks and serving you food, or also just wandering around causing trouble, and being able to walk up to them and have conversations in character and see how they bounce off you was fascinating. And there were people out there who just wanted to sit down and drink, people there who just chilling out having conversations and not participating, who were just enjoying the vibe. So I think that Star Wars Land is going to be a thing where you get what you put into it. If you want to just be in the area and have a drink and chill out and have fun, which may be hard the first 5 years when there's no elbow room, that's fine. But I do think this is the kind of thing where it's going to be as much as you choose to interact with it, it will pay out in that much.
I think that's probably true, and I think, I think I would definitely be one of those types of people who is much more content to just like admire the aesthetics and like the I don't know, look at it from like a more analytical perspective instead of like trying to get sucked into any sort of story that they're trying to incorporate me into as a guest. But I'm interested to see what Peter has to say about this. Maybe we can bring it up next time he's on the show and just get him to sound off here for a couple minutes. But that is going to bring us to the end of today's episode of Slash Film Daily. And I think because Monday is Labor Day, we're probably not going to have a show that day. So just wanted to throw that out there so you guys aren't expecting one. Before we go, where can people find all of your work or our work online? HT, let's start with you.
You can find me writing every day at slashfilm.com, and I'm on Twitter at htranbui.
Chris?
I'm also at slashfilm.com, and I'm on Twitter at Evangelista413.
Jacob?
Slashfilm.com every single day, and I'm on Twitter where I'm at Jacob S. Hall.
I am at slashfilm.com as well. You can find me on Twitter at Ben Pearson, and you can find more about all of the stories we mentioned on today's show at slashfilm.com and linked inside the show notes of this episode. Slash Film Daily is published every weekday, bringing you the most exciting news from the world of movies and TV, as well as deeper dives into the great features you can find at slashfilm.com. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, Overcast, Spotify, all the popular podcast apps. And don't forget to send your feedback, questions, comments, and concerns to us at peter@slashfilm.com. If you have any thoughts about alcohol in Disneyland, let us know about that. Please leave your name and general geographic location in case we mention your email on the air in a future episode. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast on iTunes. Tell your friends about the show. Spread the word. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.